Behind ivy-covered walls and ancient stone lies something far stranger than exam stress. These 15 haunted schools and colleges across the UK might just make you rethink your next campus tour. 1. George Heriot School. Founded in 1628 by Royal Goldsmith George Heriot, this stunning Renaissance-style school was originally built to house and educate orphans. It has stood through plagues, wars, and centuries of Scottish weather. So perhaps it's no surprise that some former pupils haven't quite left. Legends speak of the Grey Children, ghostly figures in 17th century attire, seen wandering the halls or peering curiously from windows. They're not malicious, more like eternal students who forgot when term ended. Staff have reported hearing faint laughter or footsteps echoing through locked corridors. One janitor swears a skipping rope once moved on its own. Skeptics blame drafts. Believers blame after-school activities from beyond. The children are said to appear most often during exam season, which is either deeply poetic or deeply cruel. Either way, George Heriot's continues to inspire awe, respect, and the occasional nervous glance over the shoulder. Perhaps in a place built on compassion, even its ghosts have good manners. And really, who could resist haunting a building that looks like a castle? 2. Giggleswick School. Nestled in the quiet village of Giggleswick, this ancient school boasts nearly 500 years of history, and with it, whispers of something far older. While Giggleswick School is renowned for its chapel and tradition, it is also home to a legend that has persisted for generations: the man in the red cloak. Late at night, particularly in the older parts of the school, students and groundskeepers have reported the chilling sight of a tall figure in a flowing red cloak wandering through the chapel and nearby corridors. His face is never seen, only the unmistakable silhouette and the echo of his heavy boots across the stone floor. One chilling encounter, retold by a former pupil, describes waking to find the red-cloaked man standing silently at the foot of his bed. When he shouted, the figure simply turned and walked straight through a solid wall. Investigations into the school's archives revealed records of a 17th century headmaster who was dismissed after accusations of heresy. He was known for his distinct crimson cloak and obsession with the occult. Though no harm has come from these apparitions, many students still avoid certain wings of the school after sunset, claiming the atmosphere turns cold and unnaturally quiet, as if the very walls are holding their breath. 3. Bedford School. A prestigious boys' school with a storied past, Bedford School has been the subject of many ghost stories. But one in particular stands out: the tale of Room 47. Students who have lived in this dormitory describe the overwhelming sensation of being watched, followed by vivid dreams of drowning and dark water. This might be easily dismissed, if not for the tragic incident in the 1920s, when a student mysteriously vanished during a school swimming lesson. His body was never recovered, and rumors began to spread that he never really left the grounds. It is said that his spirit, cold and wet, returns to the boarding house during rainy nights, especially those in early autumn. One boy, in a written account shared anonymously, claimed he woke to the sound of dripping water inside the room, despite no leak or rain outside. When he looked up, the ceiling above his bed appeared soaked, and a shadowy figure stood near his desk. By morning, everything was dry again, and no trace of the figure remained. Staff have attempted to dismiss the stories, but the school's maintenance log has quietly recorded multiple complaints from Room 47 over the years: flickering lights, unexplained flooding, and strange, rhythmic tapping on the windows. Most unsettling? Room 47 was officially decommissioned in 1998, and yet some say it is still occupied. 4. Bolton School. With its Gothic Revival architecture and towering clock tower, Bolton School seems straight out of a Victorian novel. But ask the older alumni, and you might hear hushed mentions of the bellkeeper. Decades ago, the school's clock tower was manually operated by a caretaker known only as Mr. Gray. He was meticulous, punctual, and deeply reclusive. One winter morning, he was found dead at the base of the tower stairs, having fallen from a great height. Since then, mysterious events have plagued the tower. The clock chiming at incorrect times, footsteps echoing up and down the staircase, and a lantern flickering in the tower window, despite no one being allowed inside after dark. Current students speak of a strange compulsion. Some feel to climb the tower at night, as if being drawn upward by something unseen. A few who've attempted it claim to hear whispers urging them higher, until they reach the top, where the air grows inexplicably cold and the bells suddenly fall silent. In recent years, the school has kept the tower locked, but every so often, a teacher or night guard reports finding the door ajar, the stairs dusted with fresh footprints. Is it the wind, mischievous pupils, or is Mr. Gray still tending to his bells long after his final fall? 5. Radnor House, Sevenoaks. Unlike the centuries-old institutions on this list, Radnor House, Sevenoaks is relatively modern, and that's what makes its haunting even more unsettling. Built on the grounds of a former manor house, the school quickly gained a reputation not just for academic excellence, but for its phantom music. Teachers working late have reported hearing soft piano music echoing from the music room, only to find it empty. Even more disturbing is that the piece played is always the same, a somber nocturne with no known origin. When music teachers attempted to transcribe it, several reported feeling nauseous or anxious while listening. Digging into the land's past reveals that the manor once belonged to a reclusive composer in the 1800s who died under mysterious circumstances. His final composition was said to have been lost or deliberately destroyed due to its disturbing nature. One chilling event occurred during a school recital. A student pianist, unaware of the legend, began playing the phantom piece by ear, despite having never heard it before. Halfway through the performance, the lights flickered violently and the piano lid slammed shut on its own. The recital was halted, and the student has since refused to enter the music room alone. To this day, no recording of the melody exists, and perhaps that's for the best. 6. Jesus College, University of Cambridge. At the heart of Jesus College lies a paradox, a place of great serenity by day and unspeakable eeriness by night. Founded on the site of a former Benedictine nunnery, Jesus College carries with it centuries of religious history and spiritual unrest. The most well-known ghost tale, The Nun in White. Students have described the spectral figure of a woman dressed in flowing white robes, gliding silently across Chapel Court. She is most often seen near the cloisters or the dining hall during the early hours of the morning. According to college law, she was a nun who broke her vows and fell in love with a local scholar. Upon discovery, she was locked away and left to perish. A chilling incident occurred in the early 2000s when a porter on night duty reported hearing footsteps followed by soft weeping echoing across the courtyard. Upon investigating, he saw the apparition kneeling by the chapel doors. As he approached, she stood and vanished before his eyes. Some believe she's searching for her forbidden lover. Others claim she's a warning, a reminder of how devotion can become torment. One thing is certain. If you ever walk through Jesus College alone at night, don't look too long into the shadows near the chapel. She might be waiting. 7. Exeter College. Exeter College's stunning Turl Street location hides a deep, lingering presence, that of the shrouded scholar. A former fellow of the college in the late 1800s, this brilliant yet reclusive academic spent most of his days locked in the library's restricted section. After years of obsession with forbidden texts, he was found dead at his desk, eyes wide open in terror, surrounded by books never identified in the college archives. Since then, students and staff have reported a cloaked figure roaming the library after midnight, often seen standing near the window with a candle that emits no light. His footsteps echo through the aisles, and the scent of old paper fills the air when he passes. One student, working on a thesis, late into the night, claimed he felt a hand brush his shoulder and turned to find no one there. Books had been removed from the shelf behind him, specifically ones on ritual theory and ancient languages. There are whispers among librarians that a certain seat, the one where the scholar died, remains cold, no matter the season. Those who sit there report vivid nightmares or unexplainable dread. Though the college remains tight-lipped about these events, few choose to study alone in the upper library anymore. 8. Peterhouse College. As the oldest college in Cambridge, Peterhouse bears the weight of time, and with it, ghost stories steeped in history. The most terrifying of all is that of the black-eyed master. This spirit, described as a robed man with sunken, entirely black eyes, has been seen in the old Fellows building. He is always silent, always watching. No one knows his exact identity, but one theory ties him to a 17th century master of the college, known for conducting bizarre theological experiments and later declared mad. In the 1980s, a PhD candidate researching the college archives claimed to have felt an overpowering presence behind him in the reading room. When he turned, he saw a figure standing inches away, with black, empty eyes and a faint smile. The student fled and withdrew from his course days later. The black-eyed master is often preceded by the sudden extinguishing of lights and a suffocating heaviness in the air. It's said that if you make eye contact with him, you'll dream of endless corridors with no exit, and his voice whispering scripture in reverse. Peterhouse maintains its reputation as one of the most prestigious colleges, but many students refuse to walk the Fellows' garden paths alone after midnight. Some doors, it seems, are best left closed. 9. Old Royal Naval College. Once a hospital, then a naval training ground, and now a university space and historic site, the Old Royal Naval College is no stranger to death. But it is the King William Undercroft, a vaulted crypt beneath the grand buildings, where the drowned lieutenant is said to reside. According to legend, during a violent storm in the 1800s, a young officer fell overboard while docking nearby. His body was never recovered. Days later, a man matching his description was seen wandering the college grounds, soaked to the bone, muttering about missing the final call. Since then, his spirit has allegedly never left. Tour guides have reported cold spots, malfunctioning radios, and unexplainable puddles of salt water in dry rooms. During renovation works in the 1990s, a construction worker swore he saw a man in old naval uniform standing at attention in the darkened chapel, only for him to disappear into the wall. Today, the Undercroft remains closed to the public except for special tours, during which visitors often complain of a faint, gurgling sound and the scent of seawater. Whether it's the tide, the past, or something else entirely, The drowned lieutenant is waiting beneath the stone. 10. Eton College. Eton, the epitome of British tradition and upper-class education, also hides one of the most persistent school hauntings in the country, the Whispering Boy. His presence is most often felt in the lower school hall, and his story is a tragic one. Centuries ago, a young boy from a poor family gained entrance to Eton through a rare scholarship. Isolated and often mocked, he reportedly took his own life in the dormitory's attic. Since then, students have heard whispers late at night, fragments of Latin lessons, pleas for help, and sometimes just a name: Thomas. In the 1970s, a group of boys performing a late-night initiation ritual claimed to have seen a pale child peering at them from the rafters. One fainted on the spot. Teachers dismissed it as overactive imagination, but strange occurrences persisted. Pages torn from Latin textbooks, ink bottles spilled in patterns resembling handwriting, and the sound of soft sobbing coming from behind locked doors. In recent years, the attic was sealed, but students still avoid that wing after dark. Even the bravest prefects hesitate to patrol it. For some, it's just a story. For others, it's a warning. At Eton, not all boys leave when the term ends. 11. St. William's College. Tucked behind the grandeur of York Minster, St. William's College is a picturesque medieval building, once a residence for clergy, now a conference and event venue. But after dark, the tone shifts. Visitors have spoken in hushed tones about the bishop's visitor, a figure in black who appears only when the building is empty and silent. He is said to be a former church official who inspected the college during a turbulent period in the 1500s. Suspicious of heresy, he reportedly ordered secret trials and condemnations within the walls, many without due process. Eventually, he was found dead in his study, his face twisted in horror, clutching a now missing document. Modern caretakers have reported lights turning on and off by themselves, candles relighting on their own, and locked doors swinging open to reveal cold, empty rooms. During a wedding reception in 2013, a photographer captured a blurred figure in a window, one that had been sealed for decades. Local legend claims he appears most often during theological conferences, which feels oddly on brand for a ghost obsessed with spiritual correctness. Though he judges in silence, it's best not to be caught yawning near the pulpit. 12. Magdalene College. At Magdalene College, ancient tradition and beauty conceal a disturbing presence. The lady in mourning. She is always seen in the same place, the shadowy corner of the Pepys Library, and always alone. The legend tells of a woman whose lover, a student at the college, died tragically in a duel over academic dishonor. Heartbroken, she would visit the college grounds in disguise until she herself passed away in grief. Now, her spirit seems tied to the library, where she once sat reading letters by candlelight. Scholars working late in the Pepys Library report feeling a heavy presence. Some hear pages turning in empty rooms. Others speak of catching a glimpse of a figure in a black veil seated at the end of a row, disappearing when approached. According to staff, she never disturbs the books, just the people reading them. A haunting presence with good library etiquette at the very least. 13. New College. New College may boast some of the most idyllic courtyards in Oxford, but behind the ivy-covered walls lies one of its most macabre secrets, the Singing Skull. During a renovation of the college chapel in the 1800s, a human skull was discovered inside one of the organ pipes, perfectly preserved and inexplicably warm to the touch. Since its removal, a strange phenomenon has plagued the chapel: faint humming and ghostly singing, always without source. Choir members have reported the unsettling feeling of singing in harmony with someone just out of earshot, as though a fifth voice joins them only on certain hymns. One chapel warden even described waking to music playing from the empty hall at 3:07 a.m., the exact time the skull had been removed years earlier. No one knows the identity of the skull, though theories range from a murdered monk to a student buried secretly after a plague outbreak. Whatever the truth, the spirit seems bound not to a grave, but to the music itself. Some believe the spirit only sings when the acoustics are just right and when no one's around to applaud. 14. Dover College. Standing in the shadow of Dover Castle, Dover College was once part of a 12th century priory, and its ancient origins are key to the tale of the cloaked pilgrim. This silent figure appears in the college's refectory and old crypts, always walking in the same direction, toward the old priory gate that no longer exists. Students have witnessed his passage without sound, his cloak dragging across the floor, his hands clasped as if in prayer. According to law, the pilgrim was a young monk who was murdered on his way to Canterbury after being accused of theft. His innocence was proven years later, but by then it was too late. His spirit, burdened by injustice, seems trapped in an eternal walk toward a shrine he never reached. Strangely, security footage has captured doors opening slowly just before the figure passes. On 2 occasions, candles in the chapel have lit themselves during his appearances, despite no wind or fire source nearby. The school chaplain once remarked that if he's still walking after 800 years, someone ought to offer him a cup of tea, or at the very least, a new pair of sandals. 15. Winchester College. Established in 1382, Winchester College has taught centuries of scholars, and possibly one ghost who never left the classroom. The tale goes that in the 1600s, a boy was locked in the school's cellar as punishment. When staff returned, he was gone. No doors opened, no windows broken. Just a single word scratched into the wall: stay. Since then, strange events have been reported. Tapping sounds echo from behind the stone. Latin verses are whispered by no visible mouth. And one porter insists he heard someone mutter, "Amicus certus in reincerte cernitur," a friend in need, while locking up, despite being entirely alone. Today, students dare each other to spend 5 minutes in the cellar. Few last that long. Is the boy a spirit, a myth, or just the ultimate excuse for skipping lessons? Winchester isn't saying, but if you do hear soft footsteps behind you in the dark, don't worry, he's probably just wondering if you brought a torch, and maybe a sandwich. Some say the boy still roams the cellars at night, looking for his way out, or perhaps just trying to finish the world's longest detention. One thing's for sure, he's the only pupil who's been at Winchester for over 400 years without graduating. Enjoyed the eerie tales? Hit like, share, and subscribe to Creepy Experience for more spine-tingling stories. Stay curious. Who knows what's lurking around the corner?